Okay, thanks for watching. Today it's Pat McGarity squared or times two. Pat McGarity here, commentary, and a Patriots perspective, and also Pat McGarity, another Patriots perspective. So you get to it. If anyone wasn't if you haven't seen Master Sergeant Roy Benavides, then you should. It's an amazing speech from 1991. He's a Medal of Honor winner and went way above the Call of Duty. Got everyone off the field, last man off the field, even seriously wounded. And it was so inspiring that it made me develop a few thoughts about that, and it kind of sums up what maybe we could use people like that now. So I would say, oh, how our country desperately needs people like Master Sergeant Benavides, so selfless and honorable. There just aren't words to describe this man's attitude, devotion, and bravery. Although he's just one of a kind, I have to believe there's still some honorable Americans out there today. They're just the ones that aren't are overrepresented, in my opinion. What do you think, Pop?
Well, there are some, especially in the military, but
Yes.
I'm afraid that since they don't really teach history or that sort of thing, civics much anymore, people are not as patriotic or really know or realize the need for that. But yes, this was really an amazing story. I'd read it myself at a different time.
I thought so too. But they're out there, and hopefully we can rally some people, and I hope that there'll be an alternative to YouTube and Facebook and so forth that is truly free speech based. Usually you can tell who these people are. There's some of the few nowadays that will speak up about what we plainly see and hear is wrong. Of course, the antique media does everything they can to smear honorable Americans like that speaking up. My impression of Clinton would go, "Don't speak the truth; it burns our ears." And they say, don't believe your eyes and ears; believe what we're telling you. The narcissists at CNN and MSNBC currently are living in their Orwellian wet dream, and we find ourselves in. Any comments on the media, Pop?
Well, there's no comments on the media I could make. It wouldn't put me in the doghouse.
Well, we got to keep it PG here. YouTube has, well, not many standards, but they have selective standards. But I'd say, one thing we could do, we need to stop the cancel culture. Election theft, fomenting of hatred among Americans, because as much damage has been done in a relatively short period of time, there's nowhere to fall back to that's more free and still has the potential for prosperity than we have here, even still. A thriving middle class is necessary for several reasons. It gives us the means to protect freedom from our public servants. It is the vehicle for people to prosper so that they have something worth fighting for. The middle class in our country is clearly seen as a threat by the elitist. All of us deplorables. So what do you, I guess I was just following up on more media, Dad. But, I think there's more of us in the middle, wouldn't you say, than one would think if you were watching from another planet to see who was represented in the coverage.
Well, admittedly, normal middle-class patriotic Americans seem to be in the minority, although I think they're really probably in the majority. It's just the loudest complainers are the ones that tend to make people like us maybe not make as much noise. But I do think that it's definitely important before we lose our country completely that the people in the middle that actually make the country work, the people that go to work every day, the people that pay their taxes, that do the civic work as a volunteer work, the people that go to church, those are really the core people that make the country work. The politicians, generally speaking, are not people that are producing anything, and they just seem to benefit the most when people don't agree. So, and of course, we have a group of people that if the news media and the politicians convince them that they can't work their way up, then of course they're dissatisfied, but they're not contributing anything financially, spiritually, or morally to the country. But the thought that one could realize the American dream and be successful, work their way up, and be successful not only financially but also socially, is, I think, the thing that draws people here and makes people willing to continue to work and be good citizens. But if the news media and the crooked politicians continue to discourage that, even the people that fit that mold now will get discouraged and quit trying. And that's the only thing that's holding the country together now anyway.
That's right. I completely agree. And if we are deplorables in a basket, they hate us even more because it's probably a Walmart basket. Smelly Walmart, no doubt. Well, the shutdowns, on one hand, they're used to attempt to command us to submit to the ever-changing hoops they delight in demanding that we jump through. And this seems to react to what appears to be a designer virus. I don't think this is too hard to see. It's sort of educated guess and based on some of the facts we're about to cover, because some of them are facts and they would lead many of us to these conclusions. I think they would lead most people to the conclusions if they looked at it objectively. But on one hand, they're used to attempt to command us and submit, but it seems to be a reaction to what appears to be a designer virus designed to do exactly what it is doing. And while on the other hand, they have a wide open border, unfortunately, with diseased individuals illegally swarming into our country with no idea of who they are and what dangerous pathogens they may be bringing as luggage. And at the same time, and I feel for these people, but the math is math, and we do not have the resources to take in everyone in the world. I wish we could do more, but America does more than any other country does and ever has. We're the liberators. We're the pocketbook, the big heart of the world, and we should be proud of ourselves. Not have any, that's not something to be ashamed of. And while the churches, funerals, weddings, restaurants, beaches, parks, and wherever Fauci bloviates about that particular day are off limits to us, the privileged political elitists laugh and do all the things that they demand we don't do. The question is whether or not the CCP virus developed in the Wuhan lab was designed to cause what is happening or not. What would such a virus and the death and destruction it caused be done differently if it had been developed for those purposes? And it is a fact that tens of millions of our dollars were sent to that very lab, which, there's nothing that's not under the control of the Chinese Communist Party in China. Nothing against the people there. The Chinese people are a great people with a great history. But since Mao took over, this is the tactics he used. And it is a fact that during the Obama-Biden regime, tens of millions of our tax dollars went to that very lab, and what looks like a collaboration, because it's pretty well common knowledge that Biden is bought and paid for by the Chi-Coms. Do you think that's a reasonable conclusion to come to?
Yes, obviously it was started in China, whether it was an accidental release that got out of control or whether it was in fact planned, but the end result is really the same. It still originated in China. They locked their own people up, but sent diseased people throughout the entire world to infect everyone. In my opinion, I think they did it to hurt our economies and the other Western economies, so that they could finally gain control of as much of the world as they could. So if they did it on purpose, that was bad, but no matter what happened, whether it was on purpose or an accident, they have certainly used that to benefit themselves. And even worse, now the Democrat or Democrat Party, as I call them, has cooperated with the Chinese, again, either on purpose or just because they're after the same goal, to utilize that crisis. As they have said plainly, never let a crisis go to waste, and they certainly have not let this one go to waste, and have done everything they can to hurt the economy and to cower the American population into just agreeing and behaving in any kind of way that is detrimental to our health, both individually and as a nation.
Yes, don't let a crisis go to waste, quoteth Rahm Emanuel, Obama's chief of staff at the time. And, they don't see the human tragedy as and the loss. They see opportunities. So, like I say, and one last thing, you had mentioned something to me that I thought most people wouldn't have, but this is not only did it jump from allegedly bats to humans, which takes up to 1,000 years or more, according to some virologists. It keeps evolving, and it keeps evolving faster than it naturally would. From like they usually takes a season to season thing. We had discussed a while back. I didn't think of this. Dad did, but that they have put these updates out, so to speak, like software, on purpose to continue their control. And while you're doing that, I messed up. I messed up, and this is real live video, and this is the stuff you get. Y'all getting the raw first cut. There goes Jamie. She's been a guest too, and she feels the same way we do. And so, but it is they're just coming too fast.
There you go.
But yeah, do you want to expand on what you thought? I thought that was really a good point that I hadn't heard anyone else come up with.
Well, it's just that their designs are to dominate the world, so anything they can do that damages us financially or militarily or socially is to their advantage. And again, these are not the normal everyday Chinese people.
No.
These are Chinese communists.
CCP.
Whose goal has been and will continue to be to dominate the world, as it was when it was the Russians. Now it's the Chinese or others. But
Russia.
But we don't want to be belligerent or hard to get along with. But these people mean us absolutely no good whatsoever, and they've been stealing our products, our intellectual property, and our money in one way or another for many years. So these people are not our friends, and I think we need to treat them carefully at arm's length and not do anything to help them out, and position ourselves to defend ourselves militarily if necessary.
And not have them producing our medicines and our military hardware and other necessities. And President Trump was having this go in that direction before the commander-in-chief and her sidekick or his sidekick, however you want to look at it, got into power. I tell you what, one of the main things that I think is a pet peeve, and it's, again, they say don't believe your eyes and ears. Well, they're peaceful protesters. Well, the explosions and the fires and the looting, I guess that's all just a side effect of peaceful protesting. But you don't see a lot of social distancing when the left's pet terrorists wreak destruction, looting, violence, and death. There should be some credit given to them and the mass department to be fair, especially by the so-called anti-fascist, not so much by the BLM tangos. Isn't that one called, was it Bolshevik Lives Matter? But they're not as much into the mass thing. What do you think?
Well, apparently they're not following their own advice. Of course, certainly COVID is a serious disease, at least for many people, and it needs to be treated that way. But you also can't just completely stop everything you're doing. If you shut down the economy and you lose your freedom, what's the sense in living if that's the case? So I think we need to treat it with respect, but with a lot more common sense, and put people back to work, rebuild the economy, and do everything we can to isolate ourselves and defend ourselves against the communist Chinese and the democrats.
Well, yeah, they're one and the same. It appears in many cases they're working hand in glove because they both have the same goals.
That's got a little side thing when you touch it in the wrong place.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Is that right? I got you.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, back to where we were. Hopefully in the future there'll be a little more prep time. We were pressed for time today, so I appreciate your patience with us. I appreciate you watching. And as soon as we'll get, there'll be a subscribe button and a like button. And although we have a subscribe button now and a like button, we're not able to monetize yet, but we're working on that. And by you hitting those, you help us to do that and get this type of message out, at least until YouTube catches telling too much truth and we have to go somewhere else. One of the main positive actions we can take is to support a new alternative social media without censorship. People like Trump and other entrepreneurs, maybe Elon Musk, I don't know. I would love to be on the ground floor or something like that. But let's get the ideas out in the open, especially their ideas. I don't want to silence the left. They can't even be honest about it. Because if they did, people would run screaming from them. They knew that just read 1984, the book, which used to be required reading in high schools, and you'll see where this is going and where it is actually. But let's get the ideas out in the open. We should welcome that because anybody with even a room temperature IQ can see those currently doing the censoring are a disaster. And it looks like there are alternative social media outlets trying to take hold despite the current monopoly, doing all they can to suppress the truth. More than half our country is a huge marketplace. And I'm sure a lot of us, again, would like to support that. And I look for that to come in the future. So as back to full circle, what do you, anything about that you would like to add, Dad?
No, except obviously the First Amendment means nothing to these folks.
Very selective.
And the reason they don't want to debate you or be exposed to the truth is because they're defenseless. So the only way they can protect themselves is just to make sure that you're not heard. Because if their ideas are displayed against normal, intelligent people's ideas, like us, well then of course they begin looking like buffoons. So the best thing for them to do is just run and hide and to eliminate the possibility of being exposed for the idiots that they are.
Well said. And they, if you don't have any facts, attack the messenger. Again, Russia. We found, of course, all that was crap, and I think all of us knew it was crap the first time around. So to come full circle to Medal of Honor winner Master Sergeant Benavidez, he did way more than his fair share in his time. And now it's time for all of us that want to live freely, and no one's coming to our rescue. It's only up to us and our prayers. So it's our turn, and I hope we can be of some encouragement to you to do whatever, a little or a lot, whatever you can. And there's so many different ways to do that. But thank you for watching, and God bless America.
There's probably a way to turn off that little side thing so people know how to do that. Well, I'm sorry, I guess I should have waited to you.
No.